Hi. As a business owner, your DNA is most likely represented in the DNA of your company. Do you want to grow that company? Do you want to grow that brand? Do you want to make sure that that brand is protected by a trademark, in particular the logo and the visual identity? These things will set your business up for long-term success by making sure that your brand is differentiated, is unique, and something that you're excited about and your staff are really behind. Meet Mimi and John Naylor, and I'd love you to discover how they set themselves up for long-term success. So good to have you here, and can you share a little bit about your business? What's your elevator pitch?
Well, Talkshop Speech Pathology is a speech pathology or speech and language therapy practice. We are on the Northern Beaches. Well, we sit on the boundary between the Northern Beaches and the North Shore in Sydney. We are a local and family-oriented practice. We see children and we see adults. So for children, we see children with speech concerns, language concerns, literacy concerns, social communication. And then with adults, we see those who have had a brain injury or a stroke, or they might have some other condition which is more chronic, and we're looking at helping them maintain their skills. So essentially, we're a local speech pathology practice.
So you decided recently to rebrand. What were you before you rebranded?
We were the Speech Centre Forestville before we rebranded.
So what was your thinking when you decided it's time to change your name, to change your whole brand identity?
Well, we would like to become a bigger practice with more centres. So that's always been the plan. And when we went to get some professional advice about how we'd go about becoming a bigger brand, we were given the feedback that our name was not trademarkable, and also our logo was what they would call a local logo rather than something that could speak at a national level. So
early on in our conversations about your rebrand, the topic of trademark and being able to legally protect your brand was discussed. So perhaps you could share a little bit around that.
To start with, we just had to grow a local practice with a customer base and make it a coherent business on its own. But once we thought, okay, well, stage one accomplished, this is a functioning local practice with a small team delivering service. Now we can think about where would location 2 be, and potentially 3 and 4 and 5, and the sky's the limit. That we would need a brand that we owned, and that meant a trademark. And so then it was, okay, let's investigate this a bit more. And of course, we were right; we couldn't trademark the speech centre. So that meant we were going to need to change names. If we were changing names, we're probably almost certainly changing logos. So that really kicked us off on the journey.
Would you mind sharing a bit about the process of what it takes to, I guess, come to the conclusion that you need to rebrand? Then what happens?
We wanted to create a brand that represented our values that have evolved over the time. So when I set up the practice, it was originally just me, and now we're a team of 7 people, and how we work, our culture and our values have changed, and our numbers have hugely increased in terms of client base. And so we needed a brand that was going to represent what we currently are doing, but also where we see ourselves grow to in the future. So we're looking further ahead to the 5 years, to the 10 years ahead. The things that come to mind is that we've always been slightly different. I feel like as a person I've never fitted any particular mould of whatever I was supposed to be doing, and our centre certainly looks like that. We've got awesome graphics on our walls, we've got a fantastic reception area that's got Lego tables, we've got indoor trampolines, we've got indoor basketball hoop, we have Nerf gun fights with our kids when we're doing therapy. Kids come here, they love it, we love it. There's there's richness and there's joy, there's vivacity, and all those things we wanted to capture into the logo. And so as much as it was slightly painful, this process of rebranding, to move away from something that had been with me from the beginning, we now love the new brand, and the brand just represents all those things that I've talked about in terms of the energy and the buzz, and where we want to go. And our clients are both children all the way through to seniors, and so rather than a symbol that might be abstract, having a symbol, an image like the parrot really works for us, because it doesn't matter your age, and it's fun, it is a bit quirky, it's different, no one else has got it. Not only are we excellent in our clinical sessions, we need to be able to convey that to the families, and that is done through talking through the report. But now the report has this fabulous logo that looks, it just works beautifully, so it just stands proud, and we love putting it at the bottom of all our paperwork, and we love it. And of course the brand is bigger than, as you said, the logo itself, and we feel that we've been able to move on seamlessly because we've moved on to something so much better.
So perhaps, John, would you share a little bit about the process of what's involved in doing the rebrand?
I found this perhaps the hardest thing about this process is this was a one-time decision. You know, before it's like, oh, well, let's just grab a name and grab a logo and get rolling. But now we're actually making a brand that we want to stick with, probably forever. And that, so the magnitude of that sort of certainly sat very heavily with me. Choosing the name, oh my gosh, you know, we built an online form with about 100 names and was passing it around for various people to give us a sort of 1 to 10 rating on. That was the hardest part for me, because you can't build a brand unless the name has been decided. And having gone through this massive try and choose a name out of 100 names, really the consensus decision and Mim's intuition, and actually the staff here, which was a big, their opinion weighed quite strongly with us. You know, what do you guys want to work as? You know, what do you want to be branded as? They all really love Talkshop, and I mean, you were very helpful. You know, passing out the survey form and rating it yourself, and offering some suggestions on what could be done with different names, but. In the end, you know, that's the name we have to make that decision. But anyway, as it turns out, we love it now, which is great.
Is there anything you would do differently if you did it again?
Now that we actually are an established business, I've learned a lot through this. So if I were to ever run a business or have a different business, I'd know that this is something you want to get right from the beginning, so that you don't have to change direction when you're in full flow. I guess that's probably it.
I still believe the inertia of thinking that everything's a big decision and you have to get it sorted is a distraction from your core focus of build a customer base and deliver service, you know, build a revenue stream. And it seems like it's hugely important what people identify you as, but at the beginning when you're a sole trader, it's you. You know, because that was the nature of the business you were starting. Somebody else who's running a different kind of, you know, if you started a coffee shop, it's much less about you, it's about the coffee, you know, and they might not be that concerned about the brand. But, you know, get feedback, and then if they feel like, yeah, you know, I want to make a change, then I'm with Mimi. If you're going to make a change where this is the one that we want to stick, it's time to invest. You know, early on, if it didn't matter that too much, then, you know, don't spend a lot of time in that, because that's not your core business. Your core business is the service or the product you deliver. But by the time you think, okay, now I want people to identify something around my visual identity, I want my service and my product to be connected to that for the long term, for sure it's time to invest. And yeah, don't think you can do that on your own. You know, then it's time to engage a professional.
That's great. So how was it working with Strategic Minds and working with me on this project?
You were absolutely the obvious choice. And we didn't even know how easy it was going to be to go through this process. But it was great because you laid out all the steps that needed to be taken, gave us a flow chart of, you know, the sequence of events that needed to be carried out, which helped us work out what we needed to do. It was very clear. You had your role set, what we needed to do as your clients. And we just followed the process, and you've obviously honed it because it works really well.
Yeah, I'd reiterate on that. Is it was very reassuring because you laid out a great plan to begin with. really the whole project seemed to follow the plan. You know, stage 1, get the name sorted. Stage 2, a set of design options, which we kind of iterated on and then narrowed down. And stage 3, okay, now these are some logo options, and we iterated those and narrowed down. And before we knew it, pop, there was a brand. And the more we passed it around, the more people said we love it, and we sort of slowly realised, oh, it's done. This is actually it. This is done.
Well, thank you so much for your time, Mimi and John.
Thanks so much, Andy.
Pleasure working with you.
Well, as you can see, a brand is far more than just a logo. It's woven deep inside the DNA of a company and often comes from the business owners themselves. So what's your business looking like, literally? Is it relevant? Is the branded entity and the logo something that's exciting, that's different, and that's protected by trademark? At Strategic Minds, these are things that we specialise in, and we love to set companies up for long-term success. Get in touch today.